Today we're going to be talking about storytelling and content creation, and I'm with 10th Wave. That's what we do. I'm going to bring out with me now Greg Garrick from 3M. Hello, Greg. And he is the global lead of social at 3M, as well as Payman Nilfarouche with Empowered, the CEO of Empowered.
You want to make this? Or,
Here.
We get closer to you? Is that better? Be more intimate?
Perfect. So basically, what storytelling has become, we know there is this great dissonance between the content we need to create and our abilities to do that. So what we believe at 10th Wave is that it's our job to take what the internet creates and make it better. And we have for you here a bit of video, I believe. There it is. This is some work we did for 3M, for duct tape. And this is called the Race of Gentlemen. It's a event that happens over the pond that just came here about 3 weeks ago to the States, where these crazy car-loving guys create these jalopies and cover the headlights with duct tape. We found this on the internet. We took it and we made it better and we sponsored it. And some of what we do today really is all about being these explorers, these people who have to go out there and find stories. So Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you do that for 3M?
3M is based on a lot of our core technologies, and we have over 45 core technologies that people don't really think about. And when they think of Post-it notes, they don't think about the technology and the adhesive. They don't think about the technology and the projectors that actually make the film that actually makes it brighter. What we're doing at 3M is trying to find new ways to connect to the customer's customer, because a lot of the times we're an ingredient product, right? So things like the reflective film and telling a story about how that film was used in the only projector that was small enough to fit down the well to the Chilean miners, and how that was the film that helped connect the Chilean miners to their families. It helped, make their stay down there a lot better, because they were actually able to see things with a very, very tiny projector that made it very bright for them. Things like the Littman stethoscope that now has Bluetooth, and how that connects people, medical professionals around the world, and they can do telemedicine even in space. And that's a new way to sort of tell our story about how we're impacting lives, and how our technologies are the foundation of those connections.
In Payman, we found not working. We found yesterday, Payman, you talked about how Empowered does this very similar thing. Really searches for expertise and the platform allows you to basically curate it and boost it for brands.
Yes. How many of you this morning read an article? Nobody? You're listening. Now you're listening. I got you. So here's how it works. I think every single one of us, every morning that we wake up, we read something. That shapes our opinion. And for us, that's really been the foundation. So yesterday I was telling the story of when I was born in Iran, that's what we didn't have, which was access to credible information. And I think today what you have is with social media, you do have a lot of content and you have a lot of noise out there, but the challenge is how do you actually find the stuff that matters? And so what we've been really on a mission is for every brand, so those one of you out there that have like amazing stuff written by credible people, like you get an awesome article, in TechCrunch or Car and Driver, how do you actually find those amazing articles and figure out what is the impact of that in people's decision making? How does that make somebody, help somebody make a decision? And if you actually do an amazing job of that, then hopefully people that are going to go out there and buy your product are going to be much more informed. So kind of to tie it back to the storytelling that I think 3M and Greg are doing, and kind of talking about the human aspect of why the products that they make matter and what it does for people. I think it all comes down to what is the value to the end user.
What would you say are the chief 3 things a brand needs to think about when they're creating content today?
I think one of the biggest things brands need to think about are, first of all, where's the conversation happening? We leverage tools like eCaron to identify the platforms, the places, the people. It's not always individual influencers or advocates. Sometimes it's a site. Sometimes it's a specific place in a country. But first of all, where are those conversations happening? And then you have to decide, are we going to participate or create a new community around that? And that's another big decision about that. And then the third foundational thing for us is, how do we make sure that the content is resonating? How are we going to measure and optimize to that? Is it our content? Is it other content we're supporting? Is it content that we need to have created to support an initiative? So making sure the content is quality and optimizing to it in the future.
So what does good content look like? How do you define exactly what is successful? What is the metric of success against content?
That's a really hard thing for me to answer, because I think I've written about this to the perspective of everyone wants the prescription. They all want the prescriptive silver bullet, and we make everything from dental fillings to street signs to Post-it notes and Scotch tape. So every objective is different and every group is different, and it's just a matter of making sure. It's my job to make sure that the leaders that are working on that content have goals and objectives in mind that we can measure against.
So one very important thing I want to talk about is that that storytelling content, the idea of content, is much different than storytelling, right? So what is that difference, and how do you define that, and how do you bridge that gap?
I think we look to connect. We want to build those connections because sometimes we're just the ingredient, right? So it's about making the things that are about our company, that are core about our company, the 45 core technologies, more relevant to the end consumer, so they understand. That's why I pay more, because 3M is in that product. Not that we're always more expensive, but that's why that product has higher quality and won't fall apart on me. That's why that duct tape will hold things together. That's why we are going to get more value out of that. So it's about supporting both, crafting stories that resonate with the customer and let them know how we're impacting their lives. I think that's the biggest difference, is connecting that impact.
Right, and we can think about, there are great narrative brands that are emerging, brands like Dos Equis, where, we co-create the storyline with them. How do we really define who owns that narrative, though, as co-creation becomes really where we have to go? Because, is a brand going to become a chief publisher? Is that your part and parcel of your role, or do we have to lean on influencers to help co-create with us and hand it over to the people?
I mean, I don't think it's about content. I honestly don't think it's about content. I think it's about the people behind the content, right? I think it's about who wrote the content, right? What's their credibility, and why should you care? So I think, honestly, a lot of talk about brands becoming publisher, I think that's nonsense. Brands and publishers are two very different things, right? Publishers have an audience. They build credibility for that audience, whereas brands are there to sell something. So I think fundamentally that's a very flawed idea.
I think there might be some disagreement that brands are there to sell something. I think that's not. I think we've evolved, right? What do you think, Greg?
Well, I disagree a little bit. From the consumer side, I believe you're right. We're just a part of that conversation. 3M, from my perspective, 3M is a leader in many of those core technologies. So we are the thought leader in this space. And if we're not creating that content, and we're not publishing and putting our chief scientists and our technology people on the forefront to these customers, nobody else can, right? So in those instances, we have to move into publishing to talk more about those things that we are all about. But I agree with you also to the perspective that there are many instances where we're just a part of the conversation. And there are many people that can talk about it better, and we just want to make sure that we're a part of that conversation.
I think just to add to that, I think you're absolutely right. Not so much that brands are out there to sell. I think it's more that that's the perception, right? So it's like if I go out there and say, guys, like do business with us, right? Even if I'm like super engaging, I have to be very, very careful as to how I approach that community and how I'm going to be engaging. So telling that story in a way that it actually like connects with them and provides them with something first before I say anything about me is really critical.
I think that's a great nuance, great descriptor of how that works. But so in terms of priority around storytelling and content creation, where does that lie? I know that we were talking a bit back in the green room about setting up enterprise structures and centers of excellence, and is that a thing of the past, or are we still pushing forward with that? Has content emerged as your chief priority, or is that not so?
I would say that it's not that content has emerged as a priority, it's that the way we connect to people, the way we converse today is starting to change. And it's not that we've talked about our brands forever. We've been telling stories since the beginning of time, right? Cavemen had pictures on the wall, and that was your first Instagram and Flickr, in the inside of caves. But now we don't have to write a 500-page novel to tell a story. We can do it in 140 characters, and it's about training the workforce, retraining the workforce, explaining to people how they can still make those connections with things that they used to know. And the thing about technology today is that it's evolving so fast, the enterprise can't catch up with it. So it's the center of excellence that I believe, and sort of our model that I truly believe will continue to help the enterprise evolve along with the culture.
So knowing that, I love the caveman reference. I think that's right. Storytelling's been around since the dawn of time. How has the new focus on imagery and video storytelling really impacted how we're going to move forward? And are we looking for influencers that really rather play in that field now rather than the text-driven space?
I think just whenever somebody else says something about you, like the credibility of that is huge, and in using that as your story. I think leveraging it, like what somebody else says about you as the story. I mean, that's really the art. I haven't seen it been done as much in like video and doing it with images as much as it's been really done with like textual content. And I think a part of that is because like at the end of the day, when influencers like say something, they like to be opinionated about it. So I think that could evolve, where video could actually take a pretty interesting angle, where somebody might just talk about like what 3M is doing and put it on YouTube, and if you find them to be credible, promoting that would actually have a pretty significant impact for you. But today, that's really, I mean, I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but we're not really seeing it out there.
Seeing the evolution into video and pictures. No, I think we are to a degree, because design is a huge mega trend right now, and people love to see beautiful things, and they love to take pictures of them and share them with their community. In fact, our new innovation site, 3m.com/innovation, is very, very visual, and that's why, is because design is a huge part of who we are now, and we want to incorporate that into our messaging just as much. But sometimes it's not about the picture, sometimes it's about the words. It's all about the impact.
Greg and Payman,